Ekaterine Giorgis was born in either 1856 or 1858, in Gori, in the Tiflis Governorate of the Russian Empire, now present-day Georgia. She was also by the name Keke Geladze. Her father, Gori, also known as Keke Geladze, was either a bricklayer or potter, and was a serf belonging to Prince Ivan Amalekvari. He died around the time of Geladze's birth. Her mother Melania makes sure that Keke learned to read and write, which was unusual for women at the time. She had two brothers, Gori and Sandla. Her mother Melania died while she was young, leaving the children to be raised by Melania's brother, who moved them to Gori around 1864, when serfs were emancipated in the Caucasus. Geladze then met Ekaterine Giorgis, a local cobbler, and the two married in either 1872 or 1874, when she was around 16. They had 3 children, all boys, though the first two, Michael, born in 1875, and Gori, born in 1876, died aged 2 weeks and 6 months, respectively. Their third and final child, Joseph, was born on December 6, 1878. He would later become known as Joseph Stalin. Prior to the birth of Joseph, Geladze became intensely religious, promising to make a pilgrimage to a church in Gori, a village in central Georgia, if the child survived, a promise she and Giorgis both kept. Initially Giorgis's cobbler business was quite successful, employing up to 10 people as well as apprentices, and the family initially enjoyed a rather high standard of living. However, Giorgis's drinking, made worse by a Georgian custom that business is paid in part with wine rather than money, had adverse effects on his business and home life. Frequently drunk, Giorgis became violent and would beat Geladze, who often hit back, and the young Joseph. His business suffered from his drinking, and he was eventually forced to give it up. The family also lost their home, and began staying with others for short periods, with 9 different addresses, over a 10-year period. Ekaterine's drinking was likely made worse by rumors of Geladze flirting with married men in Gori. Rumors linked her to several local men, but there is no evidence to show either that Geladze was flirtatious, nor is the proof that Giorgis wasn't Joseph's father. In 1884, Giorgis left the family and moved to Tiflis, returning to his old job at a local factory. He sent some money to Keke, as well as offers to reconcile, but this didn't work out. To support herself and her son, Geladze took on any job available, mainly housework, sewing and laundry. Living in near poverty, they moved frequently. In 1886 they were able to move into the top story of the house of a priest named Christopher Charkviani. Historian Stephen Kotkin has suggested that this was a deliberate move by Geladze, as she lobbied Charkviani to help enroll Joseph into the church school that year, as well as teach him Russian. Around this time she started working at a couture shop, and would keep that job until she left Gori. Ekaterine Giorgis was upset when he learned that his estranged wife had enrolled Joseph in school. He'd hoped his son would follow in his footsteps and become a cobbler. In January 1890, Joseph had been struck by a phaeton, severely injuring him. Giorgis returned to Gori and brought his son to a hospital in Tiflis, and after Joseph recovered he was apprenticed to the Adelkinov factory where his father worked. Geladze was adamantly opposed to the idea, and used her connections with the church to bring Joseph back to Gori, where he would continue his studies to become a priest. This marked the last proper contact Giorgis had with his wife or son, as he cut off contact and financial support when Joseph left Tiflis. Geladze cleaned at Joseph's school to help pay his tuition, though Joseph soon gained a stipend due to his academic performance. While Joseph moved to Tiflis, Geladze remained in Gori. When Joseph was expelled from the seminary in 1899, he turned to revolutionary activity, taking the name Joseph Stalin a few years later. He would visit his mother in Gori in 1904 after escaping from his exile in Siberia. She wouldn't hear anything from her son until the Russian Revolution in 1917. In 1922, She was moved to Tiflis, at the insistence of the leadership of the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic, as they felt that the mother of one of the leading Bolsheviks should be taken care of. She was given a room in the palace of the former Viceroy of the Caucasus. The palace was also used by the Council of People's Commissars of Georgia. She was cared for by Lavrent Beria, a close ally of Stalin, and often visited by Beria's wife Nina. Dressed in black, signifying she was a widow, Geladze was often seen in the Tbilisi markets, closely guarded by the Soviet secret police. Stalin rarely visited his mother. In an interview in 1930, with journalist H.R. Knickerbocker of the New York Evening Post, she was quoted as saying Stalin had only visited her in 1921 and 1926, and she had visited Moscow once, and said she didn't like it. Stalin and his mother often wrote letters to each other, but even that decreased after the suicide of Stalin's second wife Nadezhda Lilueva in November 1932. Stalin's children visited their grandmother in 1935, though both Vasily and Svetlana did not understand Georgian and needed their half-brother Yakov to translate, as Geladze had never learned Russian. Hearing that his mother was ill, Stalin visited her for the final time on October 17, 1935. According to an unpublished memoir by Geladze's doctor, the two had a short discussion about Stalin's position. Stalin said, "Mama, do you remember our Tsar? Well, I'm something like the Tsar." To which she replied, "You'd have done better to become a priest." From the same source, it's reported that Stalin asked, "Why did you dream so much of me becoming a priest?" With his mother saying, "I saw how little they worked and how well they lived. They were all so greatly respected, so I thought that there was no better occupation for a man, and I would have been proud that I was a priest's mother, but I confess, even about that I was wrong." Shortly after Stalin's visit, Geladze was interviewed by Pravda. The article appeared in the October 23, 1935, edition of the newspaper, with a follow-up article in the October 27 issue, detailing Stalin's visit. Ekaterine Giorgis died on Friday, June 4, 1937, in Tbilisi, the capital of the Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic. The medical report listed the cause of death as heart failure. Obsessively preoccupied with the purges of communist officials and the Red Army, Stalin didn't attend his own mother's funeral. Beria was sent instead, with a wreath that had the message, "To a dear and beloved mother, from your son Joseph Stalin," with Stalin in brackets, written in Georgian and Russian. Stalin had her buried in the Tsetsminda Pantheon overlooking Tbilisi, a necropolis full of prominent Georgian figures. In the 21st century there was discussion about moving Geladze's body from Tsetsminda to her hometown of Gori, with the deputy mayor of Tbilisi stating in 2017 that there is no place for Stalin's mother in the Tsetsminda, but no action was taken, and Geladze's grave is one of the most popular spots for tourists. Ekaterine